Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Kessler, and I am the host of the podcast, Rewiring Health. This podcast is devoted to giving you expert information around nervous system regulation, subconscious mind reprogramming, and a variety of health topics so that you can optimize your life. Stop feeling burnt out, overwhelmed, in pain, and start living your life where you can remain successful without compromising your health. I am so excited to share this episode with you today. There were so many years that I felt like I lacked peace in my life, and I was constantly going for the next accolade, the next achievement, the next thing that would fill that void that I was experiencing. And yet I was just left hollow, feeling like I was never fulfilled. And if you can relate to that, this is definitely an episode you want to listen to. It was an absolute pleasure to speak to Elijah Mang. Elijah Mang is a fulfilling life coach who grew up in circumstances that forced him to ask deeper questions in life and led him on a journey to seek answers on how to stop living in a stressful, unfulfilling life and create true happiness, peace, and freedom. The discoveries he made have been life-changing and transformational beyond only himself and into the lives of friends, family, and clients. Elijah coaches high achieving men and women, helping them to achieve their own internal transformation, moving from a place of high stress and unhappiness into a life of peace and harmony. Elijah believes that when we stop trying to search for happiness and validation externally in our lives through our achievements and accumulations, but instead go inward and focus on releasing the emotional resistance and limiting beliefs in the way, truly accepting ourselves at the deepest level, we will naturally come back home to our place of peak confidence, happiness, love, and true joy in our life. Elijah is on a mission to help the world be happy and live free, one person at a time. And I'm so honored to have him on the podcast today. Welcome back to another episode of Rewiring Health. Super excited to be joined by Elijah Mang. So we got to know each other about, it was like a year and a half ago. We did a live together and it was such an awesome conversation. So I'm super excited to have you on the podcast so we can continue that conversation because there are so many golden nuggets from it. So thank you for being here.
Yes, me too. Thank you, Kelly. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you help high performers and really dive into the subconscious mind and so much more. But can you tell us, like, how did you even get to doing that? What did your journey look like? And what brought you to what you do today?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes I call it like a surgeon of the mind because
Yeah.
essentially that's how I got started, is doing that for myself.
Mhm.
Because I was at a point in my life where I was experiencing like very high stress levels, anxiety, pressure, and depression like every single day. And it got to a point where it was almost unbearable. And I was just like, I need to free myself of this pressure. And so at the time, it seemed like the pressure was all external stuff. Like I just needed to figure out what was going on in my life. I didn't realize that I had so much bottled up inside of me emotionally that was really at the cause of that. And so I was like, all right, I need to figure out my life. I need to have things figured out because I was at a point where I felt pressure to do that. And so that's when I got into online business. I was like, all right, I have to have something figured out because I have like pressure to go to college. I have, all these other external pressures. So I felt like I needed to get on my stuff. So I looked up how to make money online, and eventually that led me into learning about all kinds of things. And I got into Amazon FBA, which was my first online business that I started. And this is really where things started to shift for me, because through doing this, I was also working at a pizza shop at the time. I was delivering pizzas. And every time I would drive, I would just listen to music. But one day I was like, man, I wish I was at home working on my business right now, because my time would be so much better spent doing that instead of working here, just getting like minimum wage. That's not really going to make any kind of changes or difference for me. So I was going out to deliver pizza, and I was like, I might be able to do like something, productive. And so I decided to just look up motivation on Spotify, and I found a podcast. It was the Mindset Mentor podcast by Rob Dial.
Yeah, good one.
So good. That changed my life. I started listening, and the ideas that I was picking up just from listening to all these different perspectives on life were very transformational. And I could feel that. Like I started to feel different while I was listening to it, and I felt inspired. And I was like, whoa, like these things I'm experiencing every single day, I don't have to experience them. I can change my mind. I can change my emotional state. And by doing this, by working on myself, there was a very prevalent quote that stuck out to me. It was, your level of success will never exceed your level of personal development. And
Mhm.
I was like, wow, that's real, because
Mhm.
I like at that level, I didn't feel like the kind of person who could create all these like huge levels of success that I wanted to create. And so I was like, okay, I got to do the work on myself. I have to really become that person. And that made a whole lot of sense to me. So that was part of what really got me hooked.
Mhm.
And I was just listening like episodes back to back to back. Every time I was delivering pizza after that, I was listening to the podcast. And then I picked up other like recommendations on the podcast for books, audiobooks. And so I started listening to audiobooks, a mix of audiobooks and podcasts when I was delivering pizza. It's just every time I was driving. There was probably a long amount of time where I just didn't listen to any music because I was so like hooked and upset. Not,
Immersed.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, immersed. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was a very transformational period for me, in terms of how I felt, but I didn't realize all that it would lead to at the time. And
Yeah.
now it's about 4 years down the road from there, and I I've like completely changed. It's
Amazing.
insane. It's insane how much I've changed, because just
Yeah.
everyday life, experiencing life every single day, I'm very um self-aware at this point, and very like I've become very uh aware of my emotions and emotionally intelligent to the point where I can experience things like anxiety or depression sometimes, or just depressive thinking, I guess. But it's not like a state that just sticks with me. It's not like I back then 4 years ago, I probably would have identified like, oh yeah, I totally have anxiety. And there's a complete difference between I have anxiety and I feel anxious,
Mhm.
because anxiety is, now this might be a little bit controversial,
Mhm.
because I believe that anxiety is just a feeling. And you probably already know this, I'm not a big fan of like big pharma and the whole system as it
Yeah.
is, because it's just a huge profit generator for them. And that's the one of the main intentions behind it, because we feed people with medications because they don't know how to deal with their emotions, instead of teaching them how to deal with their emotions, which
Mhm.
is the real cause of these issues. And so like I would have said I have anxiety. Now like I still feel anxiety sometimes, but it's not every day, and it's very rare. And when I do feel it, I realize like, wow, I used to feel this all the time. And back
Yeah.
when I was living in that reality, I didn't realize that this reality was possible, that this
Yeah.
was actually a reality for people,
Mhm.
and like that having a healthy just perspective and emotional relationship with life
Mhm.
was an actual reality for a lot of people.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's
So true.
insane.
Yeah. I love that because you sometimes when you're like in it, you don't realize what's possible because you're so engrossed in it. And then when you gain perspective, you're like, oh my gosh, it is possible to not be consumed by this. And one thing that you said that really stuck out to me is when you were talking about like you're just started listening to things while you're delivering pizzas. It's like you didn't have the whole path figured out. You were stepwising it. And this I find, that was my experience too, but I hope anyone who's listening to this, if you're getting stuck on getting started, listen to that because you don't have to have the whole path figured out. You just have to do something different, something that's going to feed your brain healthy stuff and things that are going to serve you. And it's like you started listening while you were doing your job. So it's like even that, it's like sometimes people think, well, I have to abandon my whole life and you had to do this. No, you were still doing your job, but you were using that time wisely to move yourself forward. And so I love that. And again, that quote you shared too, where we talk about your level of success matches the level of your personal development. That's huge because again, I think the common misconception is that once I'm successful, then I'll work on myself, or once I'm
Yeah,
successful, I'll feel fulfilled. But it is the opposite. Once you work on yourself, your life changes. It mirrors what your inner realm is. And if you're not
Yeah.
working on your inner realm, you can't possibly expect your outer realm to change, because it's not going to. So there're just so many messages there that as you're talking, I'm like, yes, that's it. That is
Yeah.
it. And
It's
just going off of, like, the big pharma. Yeah. I mean, the identity, if like you identify as this, and that there's something innately wrong with you, it does play a huge role in how your brain perceives that. And it's like, it's one thing to say, I'm experiencing this, or this is something I deal with. And while medications do serve a purpose, if you're not doing anything in conjunction with them, then you're really missing the whole point. Like, there are some people that do need medications, but if you're not being your own advocate and trying to move yourself in a better direction, behaviorally or mentally or physically, then you're really going to miss out on what is possible for you. So
mm,
yeah, so many golden points there. So thank you for sharing all those.
yeah, totally. One thing you said, I think I literally wrote down like last night,
Uh-huh.
uh, that typically the biggest shifts in your life, like the biggest changes in your life, come from like tiny little shifts.
That's it.
Tiny little
Yeah.
changes. It's like just
Mhm.
tiny little things like that. Because, like you said, I didn't know at all where I was going. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was like. All right, I'm starting my Amazon business. This is
Mhm.
it. This is going
Yeah.
to be successful. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And little
Yep.
did I know that it was not going to be successful.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought though at the time that I was gonna be making six figures within like 6 months of starting that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
eventually I was working on it for, I don't even know how long, probably like a year since like the very start of when I
Yeah.
began learning and working on it.
Mhm.
Um, but I ended up losing like all the money I had. And
My
that was,
gosh.
it was about, I had some money saved up like for college savings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ended up losing like all of that money and all of my products and everything. It just took a complete turn down.
Oh gosh.
Um,
Yeah.
but that was a great experience for me because
Yeah.
like it felt like getting this notification on my laptop one day when I was just sitting there, like, oh, your Amazon account is suspended. I was like, oh
Mm.
shit. What,
Mhm.
and then I started going through with the process to get my account back.
Mhm.
Nothing. Tried again and again and again and again and again, nothing.
Mhm.
And eventually it got to a point where I was literally trying to get my account back for 3 months and tried multiple things. And eventually I was like, that's when they said, oh, your inventory is still in our warehouses, but it's not like assigned to a listing because your listing isn't up because your account's suspended. So you
Mhm.
like get this inventory out of here or we're going to dispose of it. And then I got like, there was a bunch of confusion through the emails that they sent, and I ended up making the mistake of not taking my inventory back in time. And so they
Mhm.
disposed of all of it. And at that point, that was the point where I was just like, all right, on to the next. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And what I've really learned over these past 4 years is like you were saying, a lot of people think that I need to create the success and then the happiness will come from that, or the things that they want emotionally will come from that, like the connection, the enoughness. A lot, this is why I work with high achievers, because I have the
Mhm.
same kind of paradigm. Like my life uh has been on a certain track where I've been seeking love, unconsciously seeking love through achievement and through
Mhm.
accomplishments and through significance. And I
Mhm.
feel like I don't feel like, I know that that's the case for a
Mhm.
lot of high achievers, a lot
Mhm.
of people who are out there creating big levels of success,
Mhm.
but they don't feel fulfilled and they're constantly like chasing more and more and more. And
Mhm.
it's like they're really blocked off emotionally and mentally, I would say, through like their perspective. They're blocked off from this higher level of perspective where who they are right now and what they have, like this very moment is enough. And you are enough in this moment. You are worthy of love in this moment. You don't need to go create all these things. Creation is amazing. I mean, I think that's one of the main reasons why we're here, is to create and to enjoy life. But you don't need to go build more and more and more just to be enough, right? More is the mantra of the ego.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's it just craves more because it's never really satisfied, because I mean, it's impossible to compare your worth, your internal like self-worth,
Mhm.
to achievements, because
Mhm.
there's no level of achievements that can prove your worth.
Yeah.
Possible.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
literally impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. But it can't be defined, it's like, okay, how much, what's the dollar amount that your worth is? What's the level of status? Like it can't be defined. And it's so interesting you say that. I'm literally like almost done with the book, but Brendan Richard, High Performance Habits. I don't know if you've read it, but
I,
one of
no, I haven't read it.
you would like it. It's good. Yeah, I feel like you would really love this book. But at the end, it talks about one of the traps of success is dissatisfaction. And as a high performer, high achiever, when you're always dissatisfied, like it's never good, never good enough, never good enough. You're always striving for the next best thing. So you never celebrate any of your successes. That literally will deplete you of everything that you are capable of. So it's one of those like things that it's hard to celebrate yourself and pat yourself on the back, but you have to do it because that's what keeps you going, versus
Yeah.
like satisfaction is going to only leave you empty each time. If you ever feel like it's enough, you're just left empty. And then again, when you attach your worth to it, it's even worse, because now not only is it never enough, but now you're never enough. And that
Exactly.
it's huge. Yeah. How
Yeah.
did you start to transform that in your life? Like when you were searching for all these things that, to be successful, like how did you start that transformation where you realize like, regardless of what's going on in my external environment, I'm still enough. I'm still worthy of love.
Oh, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. It's a process, but
Yeah.
that's the thing, is like we often underestimate the amount of transformation that can take place over time.
Hmm.
Because like for me, I wanted it to happen quick because I
Hmm.
was chasing this success. I was
Yeah.
chasing external, significance,
Hmm.
because that is what would make me feel like I was enough.
Hmm.
Uh, and so I wanted it to happen right away. I wanted it to happen fast. I wanted these
Yeah.
changes to like just boom, all of a sudden I'm making $1 million a year, and I'm like, good. And now my mom's gonna be like satisfied, and she'll love me and she'll accept me where I'm at, instead of like, oh, but what, like I would the way I grew up, I would come home from school with my report card and have like 4 A's, 1 A-, and maybe like a B+, and she's like, oh, why weren't these ones A's too?
Just like
And
focusing on
so
the
I'm
negative of
like,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
I was actually kind of happy about that report card. I thought I did
Yeah.
great. And then it's like, oh, but it's not enough.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
those kind of things, like I grew up playing soccer, and from a very young age, I started playing soccer at like 3 or 4 years old. And
Hmm.
I was always like one of the best, if not the best players on the field. And I
Hmm.
could literally hear parents on the sidelines like, what? There's no way he's the same age as these guys. I've always been taller than a lot of the
Hmm.
people at my age. And
Yeah.
they're like thinking that we're cheating, thinking I'm older than all the other kids, because I was just
Yeah.
out there like doing my thing. I was
Yeah.
I was crushing it.
Yeah.
And so I got this feeling from that of, oh, I get a lot of attention and recognition and
Yeah.
significance when I'm performing at a high level, when I'm doing better than everybody else, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Or when I'm like
Yeah.
succeeding. It wasn't really about beating other people. It was about me performing at a high level, me doing really good. That's what made me enough. That's how I
Mhm.
interpreted it. So these things I did not become aware of until I was like maybe a year or two into my personal development journey. But
Mhm.
what I realized in the beginning is that, yeah, like I was saying, like I wanted it to all happen so fast, but that's not how it works.
Mhm.
And you get to a point through doing the internal work, whatever that looks like for you. It's really one step at a time. Like you
Mhm.
just have to like, even if it's only one thing, you just have to like focus on that one thing and
Mhm.
start doing it and make it a lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it's been many things, like back to the main question that you asked. It's been many things. Like I've done with one of my coaches, I did hypnotherapy,
Mhm.
and it was actually it's what I practice now as well. So I do hypnotherapy with my clients now too, and it's rapid transformational therapy from Marissa Peer, if you know who that is.
I
Uh,
do. Mhm.
yeah, so
Yep.
my coach was trained by her,
Okay.
and then I learned that as well. And
Yeah.
so because it was so helpful for me, I was like,
Yeah.
oh. like I need to go do this. And that was a big shift in terms of like what we're talking about with the
Mhm.
internal self-worth at
Yeah.
that time. Because I just remember I was on a coaching call with my coach at that time. And I was telling him, I'm kind of just beating myself up. Like I feel like I should be doing more, blah, 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 blah. And this was probably 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And he's like, why? Like, you don't need to do that. It's not helping with anything. You don't need to beat yourself up. Like that's literally all he
Yeah.
said. And I had this crazy internal realization. I was like, you're right. Like it's not
Yeah.
helping with anything because
Yeah.
before it's like I would unconsciously genuinely believe that beating myself up leads to me doing better, performing better, or maybe working harder so that I
Yeah.
can create more, build more, do
Mhm.
better. So that I
Yeah.
can do enough. It
Yep.
always comes back to this enoughness. Like
Yeah.
the
I
main core beliefs that most people deal with are I'm not wanted, I'm not good enough, I'm not
Mhm.
worthy, or if I try, I'll fail.
Yeah. Mhm.
These are the main unconscious beliefs
Yeah.
that most of us, probably 95% of us,
Mhm.
deal with at the core.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, it's really just been a process of breaking through like new levels of emotional blocks that I find within myself,
Mhm.
or false beliefs, limiting beliefs that
Yeah.
are just floating around in my unconscious mind, like directing my life, and I don't even realize it until they come up, or until I look at my behavior in my life, and then I'm like tracking it back,
Mhm.
and I can find the belief that's at the core of that, or the emotion that's at the core of that, or maybe my
Yeah.
thoughts are spiraling out of control, and I'm judging myself, or I'm fearing like judgment or criticism, or just fearing creating stuff, putting stuff out there, but it's not good enough. And
Yeah.
I'll take a step back and notice, like, okay, all of these thoughts are this is not rational thinking.
Mhm.
There's something else at the core of this. And what I realized is, um, like, what's the emotion at the core of
Mhm.
this? Oh, okay, it's really just fear. So
Mhm.
what do I do with that? I just need to feel the fear.
Mhm.
I don't need to do anything. I just need to let go of all these thoughts, stop entertaining them, stop playing the ego game, and just feel it. Just tune
Yeah.
into my heart space and like let the feelings come up, because that's all that needs to happen,
Mhm. Yeah.
is these feelings that have been developed throughout my life and built up inside of me, these feelings of fear, to the point of like, um, what's the word? Debilitation.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Um, they just need to come out. That's why they're coming up. That's why all these thoughts are there. Let me just
Yeah.
practice for the feeling, release it. I
Yeah.
have to feel it in order to release it. And that's
Yeah.
what gets you to the next levels.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of tying back into what you were saying earlier
Mhm.
about like feeling the fulfillment,
Mhm.
like creating that place of like genuinely feeling those feelings within yourself before you even create the success that you think will create those feelings,
Yeah.
is really the key.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes. I
like for
completely
me,
agree.
yeah, it is. And like for
Yeah.
me, I've been at points where I was like $25,000 in debt,
Mhm.
and like what I was still attaching my self-worth to money. So at
Mhm.
that point, you could imagine my self-worth was not very high and not
Mhm.
very good. I didn't think about myself in a very positive way, because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm negative. I owe all
Yeah.
this money. Like
Yeah.
system is, how debt is. It can be crippling.
Scary. Yeah. It can be scary, very scary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I'm in a place where like, oh, I'm not enough. It's like every
Yeah.
single day I'm just reminded, oh, but eventually I was going through that for a reason, because
Yeah.
eventually it helped, like through that experience, I learned how to genuinely believe that I'm enough,
Mhm.
even with $25,000 of debt.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I truly believe that, no, I know, because the feeling was so strong. I know that me accepting myself in that position
Mhm.
is what led to me getting rid of the debt.
Mhm.
once
Yeah.
I once I released the feelings of the debt, and once I embodied more of the feelings
Mhm.
of like I'm worth more than money.
Mhm.
And we
Yeah,
all, like, whoever is listening to this right now, you are worth more
that's
than
it.
money.
Yeah.
You really just need to take that in because it's
Mhm.
so true. We literally created money.
Mhm.
Why
Yes.
why would we think that we're less than money?
That's it. And for whoever's listening, rewind this and listen to this again because you need to like, I think we all need to hear this over and over and over again because it's so true. It's like the world, media and everything will tell you that you are your debt, you are this, and try to minimize you. And it's all a way to like just kind of it's very suppressive. But once you can realize, like, you're talking about that, like you're in this like joyful state regardless of the debt, and you can feel your worth regardless of the debt, like that is it. And it's just being intentional every day to feel those emotions of regardless of what's going on around me. If you're experiencing a lot in your life, you can still feel these higher level emotions because you're intentional about it. You're training your brain to experience it regardless of what's going on externally. And that is literally game changer. Like when you're speaking, I'm like, you're speaking right to me because literally I went through very, very similar journey of like, experiencing like the student loan debt. That was a big crippling thing for me, of my student loan debt, and like always going for the next degree to feel like I was enough, never felt like I was enough. And I'm like, put myself in a hole. Now I'm like, oh, now I'm really not enough, like, so like, I totally understand what you're saying because that was something I had to work through too, is like, okay, how do I live my life? I can't live like this the rest of my life because this is miserable, So it's like learning how to train your brain to experience those higher energy states, even if your situation has not physically changed yet.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are misled when it comes to this kind of stuff as well, even by some big names that I see on social media, like people who are really like some of the top like
Mhm.
influencers in the whole personal development,
Mhm.
niche.
Yeah.
And like some of the top leaders in the industry are telling people like you're not worth it, go work harder, like you are not worthy, go work harder.
Gosh,
And
yes.
there's this very fine
Yes.
line, like this nuance here that I just feel the need to address, because
Hmm.
telling somebody that you're not worthy of creating what you want is kind of just reinforcing those beliefs that they already have.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to keep them stuck. It's going to keep them in inaction, because why? I mean, what typically when we genuinely believe, like we have all these unconscious beliefs that are still very strong, that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough,
Hmm.
it causes us to be in this state of like shame or guilt or helplessness, apathy.
Yeah.
And what comes from that? Nothing.
Hmm.
No action is going to come from that.
Yeah.
And any action that does come from that is not, it's not productive action. It's not effective action,
Hmm.
because it's coming from a state of, oh, I'm not enough. You're forcing things.
Hmm.
And that's the difference. It's power versus force. I don't
Hmm.
know if you've read that book by David Hawkins, one of my
No, I
favorite.
haven't. I'll have to write that down. Yeah, I haven't read that
Power
one.
versus force.
I will definitely be buying that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very like, um, what is it? Like for me, when I was reading it, it was hard to like follow along. Like I would find myself multiple times going back and like rereading
Yeah.
the whole paragraph that I just read, because I was like, wait, like you really, it takes a lot to really comprehend.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
let those perspective shifts soak in, but it's
Yeah.
so transformational because it's a whole
Hmm.
lifestyle. It's a whole
Yeah.
way. It's a whole change in all of that, because you're operating in like you are your operating system, like, or
Hmm.
not necessarily you, but
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
unconscious mind,
Yeah.
your unconscious beliefs and your nervous system. That's your operating system.
Hmm.
That's what creates the results that you get in life, the
Exactly.
relationships, the feelings, everything.
100%. Yeah.
And so when you change your operating system from a place of operating out of force,
Hmm.
you feel the need to force things because you're stressed, you're anxious, you're depressed, you're feeling hopeless, you're shameful and guilty. You have all these feelings inside of you that you never learned how to process and release.
Yeah.
And you're in a state of inaction. You're
Hmm.
you're not going to be doing anything effective, right?
Yeah.
And that's all based out of fear.
Hmm.
right? And then on the other end is power, not
Mhm.
power in the sense of control over others,
Mhm.
but power as in like you're a powerful being.
Mhm.
We all are
Yeah.
powerful beings. And
Mhm.
um, love is how we tune into that. It's just love.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it really is at the core, it's power versus force. It's
Mhm.
love versus fear.
Mm. It's a
Because
good way to
like
look at it. Yeah.
everything, everything that we struggle with, everything that we deal with on a daily basis, or, you know, I don't know what point exactly whoever's listening to this is at, but like if you're at a point where you're experiencing high stress levels every day, or anxiety every day, or fear, the pressure, doubt, worry, all of these things, they all stem from fear.
Mhm.
And ultimately, it comes down to love, because you wouldn't have fear if you didn't have the love. Because love is literally your life force.
Mhm.
It's what keeps you alive. And so like love is your essence.
Mhm.
So everything else is just based out of a lack of love.
Mhm.
So like if you just look at it like that, like love is the only actual thing that there is. And all the challenges, all the things that you're experiencing are just based out of a fear of lacking love,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But
Such a good
I'm not.
perspective. Yeah.
It is.
It makes it
And
very simplified because it can feel very jumbled and overwhelming just living
totally.
life. So if you look at it like that, it's like, okay, where am I? Love or lack of love? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just two things. It's good or bad. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Good or bad? Love feels good,
Yeah.
fear feels bad, right?
Mhm.
It's simplifying it helps so much, because whatever you're experiencing, you
Yeah.
can boil it down to I'm either in the category of fear or the category of love. And
Mhm.
like this perspective shift for me was so profound, because I was like, oh, I'm either in love or fear. And love is really what's going to get everything done. Fear is actually not even real.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
completely made up in my mind.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
back to the core beliefs that everybody has. If I try, I'll fail.
Mhm.
Fear. And
Mhm.
fear of if I fail, then I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
Right? So the other belief, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. What does that even mean? I'm
Yeah.
not good enough. Oh, to be worthy of love.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm not worthy of, it's all based on the lack of love. I'm not
Yeah.
wanted. I'm not wanted because I'm not worthy of love. Like all of those beliefs that you could
Yeah.
have are based out of a lack of love. So love is just, it's the answer, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the main thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
That yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and one thing that as you're speaking, there's actually I just watched like an In My Lab podcast and they talked about like things without love, like if you're taking care of a child and you have to do their diapers, but that without love is just work versus like when you add love in there, that's like your intent with them, that your passion for that child, or communication without love is just talking to them. Communication with love is understanding. So it goes into every aspect. And it was actually a 102-year-old woman who talked about that, but the combination of love with things that we just talked about in life, like when you remove the love, it's nothing. It can almost be taken as like anger, when you remove the love from it in all these aspects of your life. But yeah, I mean, I can totally get behind everything you're saying. I can't wait to, I'm definitely going to read that book. And as you were
yeah,
saying too, one thing that really stood out to me is that especially high achievers, high performers, it's like your baseline is go. Like your baseline is work hard, work hard. So when you are listening, like you're going back to what you're saying, when you listen to people online who are saying, you got to work harder, you got to work harder, it can really be detrimental to yourself because you're like, I'm already busting my butt. Like, how much more can I do? But
yeah,
as like a high achiever, high performer, when your baseline is go, you have to learn how to tone that back and start listening to your core and start honoring your needs. Like that's really where your power for, with my experience that comes from is when you can learn how to tone it back and just be without always going, because the going is really just that coping mechanism of numbing your feelings again. So it's like it's a very like high achievers, high performers is a very different mentality versus someone who like needs to be motivated. Like motivation and going is not typically it's something that high performers, high achievers need because they have it already. It's
yeah.
that learning how to slow down, learning how to appreciate life, learning how to be grateful, celebrate their successes is, and again, all that love is the thing that is missing. And so I love that example that you gave and just seeing it through that lens. It's beautiful. I haven't heard it explained that way. And I just love that.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah.
also like touching on what you were saying about like doing things not just because you have to do it, or
Mhm.
but doing it from love.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like literally the foundational energy of the universe is all the same.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like what I'm made of is the same thing that you're made of, and it's the same thing that the walls behind you are made of, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing that the air around you is made of.
Mhm. Yeah.
We just see it through our headset, and it's a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an illusion. We see this physical reality. None of
Yep.
this is actually physical if we're
Yeah.
really getting down to it.
Mhm.
And this is like the power of love, just like the essence of everything that is being love, is proven through things like you've probably seen videos of people um, speaking to their water in a loving way or in a
Mhm.
hateful and fearful way. And
Mhm.
then they put it under a microscope, and the water, like I don't even know how to explain this, but it's either like very coherent and
Yeah. The
uh,
properties change.
the
Yeah.
properties change
Yeah.
exactly. And
Mhm.
it's completely different
Yeah.
simply because of that love factor. And
Yeah.
that's what we need to be giving to ourselves. Because
Yeah.
when we're constantly in a war with ourselves,
Mhm.
it's like, and I made a post the other day on Instagram, and in the caption, I was talking about how if a sports team like has a bunch of players who are like at each other's heads, like they have like um, bad intentions towards each other. They're not supportive of each other. Like they're, you know,
Mhm.
not being a team. They're not
Yeah.
going to succeed at all.
Mhm.
They're probably going to get cut very early on in the season. They're not going to make it through the playoffs or
Yeah.
whatever is going on.
Mhm.
And a business who has a bunch of employees who don't they don't have a good relationship with the leaders of the company, and they're maybe plotting against them because they're like, oh, screw this company, they're not doing anything for me. And
Yeah.
then the employees are all arguing and getting at it. They don't like each other. It's very like a cliquey environment. Like there's these people who hang out with each other, and then there's these people who hang out with each other, and they all talk shit about each other.
Yep.
That business is not going to succeed very
Yeah.
much as
Mhm.
it could,
Yeah.
obviously
Mhm.
there's plenty of examples of environments that aren't very good, but the business is still like making profit, but it's not a
Yeah.
good environment, and they're not doing it nearly as good as they could be doing.
Yeah.
So what makes you any different? All 40 trillion of your cells,
Mhm.
imagine all 40 trillion of your cells being driven in the same mission, in the
Mhm.
same direction, the same goals, instead of like half of you is like, ooh, I want this. But
Mhm.
then the majority of you, the unconscious part of you, is like, no, I want this,
Yeah.
because I'm still holding on to resentment towards my dad, from my childhood. I've been holding on to this for 30 years,
Mhm.
something like that. Like I'm still holding on to this anger at the world,
Mhm.
at the world for just being the way it is, and I have to have all these responsibilities, I have to do all these things, like whatever emotions you're holding on to, those are like the cancer cells
Mhm.
like battling against each other.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I would argue
Mhm.
that one of the biggest causes of cancer, right?
Mhm.
Don't quote me on this. This
Mhm.
is completely my beliefs, but I have a very good reason to believe this stuff.
Mhm.
One of the main causes of cancer, of a lot of those diseases that are very prevalent to these days,
Yeah.
emotions,
Mhm.
because our
Yeah.
body is an energy system.
Mhm.
Think of it like a pipe. Think of it as a pipe. If the pipe
Mhm.
gets clogged,
Yeah.
it's
Not
not
gonna
flowing
flow.
smooth.
Yes.
Our energy system is clogged because we have all these stuck emotions in our body. We're holding on to all these false perceptions and false,
Mhm.
like emotions that aren't even actually based on reality. They're just based out of
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
Then our energy system is clogged. We're not
Mhm.
going to feel good. We're going to create disease, because disease is something that's created within us.
Mhm.
Health and prosperity is our
Mhm.
natural state.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if you follow Joe Dispenza. Have you ever
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
So
I love
yeah,
Joe.
I mean, he talks about that to a T. Like you have thoughts, you attach emotion to your thoughts. those get integrated, your body feels the emotion, and we can sense that, at all times. You think of somebody you really don't like and you get angry, you start sweating and think you breathe more shallow. Like, you can experience this in your everyday life, but when that happens over a course of time, and especially when they're very strong emotions and you hold on to those, now your genetic expression actually changes. And he's done a lot of research showing that. So your theory is in the works, of what
It's,
he talks about. So there
yeah,
is some truth to that. And it's like, you know, we obviously, there's things we can't control, but there's things that we can help ourselves and be our best advocate and really learn how to create harmony in our system, regardless of what's happened. It's just learning how to do that, learning how to have compassion for ourselves, learning how to move forward, regardless of what we've gone through. And it's not an easy process by any means, but it is possible to stepwise that and start to learn how to have love for yourself, to start to have compassion for yourself, treat yourself and honor yourself in a way that you would that your best friend. And a lot of times we don't, we put ourselves last. And this is a real shift that needs to start happening in society, because when we elevate ourselves, we can elevate the people around us. And we all have the responsibility to elevate ourselves. And you start to, as you elevate yourself, your whole life changes, and the circle of friends you have and everybody in your life changes. And that's it. So yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. It's that's the power of it. We have a lot of power. We just have to take back our power.
yeah, no, that's exactly it. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. It's
Yeah.
it's not widely accepted yet
Mhm.
that the power of our emotions. I mean,
Mhm.
just 50 years ago, 99% of people believed, oh, emotions are just for women and babies.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yep.
look at the amount of men who are so disconnected from their emotions
Mhm.
and can't even have a good relationship because they don't know how to communicate, because they don't know themselves, they don't know their
Yeah.
emotions, they don't have that good relationship with themselves, they don't
Mhm.
truly believe that they're lovable and worthy of a great relationship.
Mhm.
And it just, you see it manifesting in all these situations, in all these relationships. And there are a lot of people who would have great relationships,
Mhm.
but I'm sure it's the majority
Mhm.
who don't, who aren't
Yeah.
aware of these things, who aren't
Mhm.
very emotionally or self-aware yet,
Yeah.
but that's the
Yes.
that's currently taking place.
Mhm.
That's why
Yeah.
I do what I do. I'm playing a part in this shift, because I feel called to, because it's my
Yeah.
high calling,
Yeah.
to help people. I knew this
Yeah.
from, I remember this one moment where very early on in my personal development journey, when I started doing all the practices, like, I'll just list some things that have been super effective that I started doing very early on. Journaling
Mhm.
is game changer. I
Mhm.
just
Yep.
posted on my story about that yesterday,
Yeah.
and I'm going to make a free guide for people, for my
Yeah.
followers, my audience, on effective journaling. Um, but that's like such a big thing. And
Yeah.
one day, well, I guess I'll continue with that. So journaling, meditation,
Yeah.
visualization, exercise, like making habits of these things,
Yep.
um, every single day. And it doesn't have to be all of them. Like, I would say, if you're going to do a couple, like, take care of your mind through
Mhm.
journaling, your meditation, and exercise. You got to take care of your body. You have to move. You have to create your energy. If you
Yeah.
don't get up and create energy,
Mhm.
then you're not going to have energy.
Mhm. Exactly. Yep.
A lot of people don't realize that.
They're all interconnected. Yep.
Yeah, but I remember sitting there journaling one morning, and like, the feelings that I felt, it was the feelings from my higher self. It was the reassurance, like, you're on the right path, you're doing it, and you will be where you want to be very
Mhm.
shortly. I mean,
Yeah.
time doesn't matter to the universe,
Yeah.
it matters to the ego. But
Mhm.
I felt those feelings, and I was like, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And these are, like, I hadn't felt the amount of love and inspiration.
Mm.
I don't even know, like, when the last time before that I ever felt those feelings. Maybe like when I was a very young child and I was still pure and,
Mhm.
unconditioned by society
Yeah.
and all these other things. But like, that feeling was so profound. I was just like, I want to go help other people feel this feeling.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
I want to go help other people feel this feeling. And that was before I even knew that I was going to get into coaching or anything like that. But I
Yeah.
was thinking about my mom. I was thinking about my sister. I was thinking about my dad. I was thinking about all my friends, everybody. I was like,
Mhm.
this is fucking amazing. Excuse my
Yeah.
language.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
what it's about.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, even though nothing like externally is changing, like you can experience that. And it's like, I really truly believe you're best served to, best suited to serve the past version of yourself. And if it's like, that's who you were, that you were having a hard time with these emotions, couldn't express them, was suppressing them. And it's like, now you have this gift, it's like, I heard this one thing, and I love this analogy, but it's like, if someone gave you a gift and you didn't open it, it's pretty rude, like, so it's like God gives you this gift, and if you don't use it to help other people, you don't open it, like it's pretty
And
rude, so it's like, use your gifts. Like, we all have these like gifts that are amazing. We just have to start recognizing that we have them, move them forward, and you have courage to do that. And I just love that journaling example, because like that emotion that you experience from that, it's like, here's your clear sign, it's like you have been given the gift of feeling that. It's like, now how can we share that with people so that they can also feel that gift? And like, that's
mm,
it. It's just elevating everybody around us. And it starts with yourself, and then it helps you have that ripple effect for other people. And it's like, what a gift to somebody else,
that that's huge. I love
Yeah.
that perspective that you just put that in, because I've
Yeah.
never heard it that way. I've never really
Yeah.
thought about it that way. But like, yeah, God already gave you a gift. You
Hmm.
have many gifts.
Yeah. Yep.
Regardless of who you are listening right now, regardless of your limitations, of your challenges in life. I mean, actually, you probably have the gifts that you have, like perfectly in relation to the challenges that you've experienced
That's
in your
it.
life. When I
Yes.
look back at my life, I'm like, wow, everything was so perfectly
Yeah.
crafted. And you don't see this until you look back.
Mhm.
Once the dots are already laid out, then you can
Yeah.
connect them. But
Mhm.
if they're not out there, then you're worrying about the future. You don't realize that, oh, this thing that you didn't necessarily want to happen is actually working out for your best interest.
That's
You don't
it.
see
Yep.
that until you look back on it. And looking back on my life, I'm like, wow, all this lack of connection that I felt, all this loneliness, all this sadness and anger, all of this stuff was so perfectly orchestrated to give me the perspective that I have today,
Yeah.
and the values, the things that I find most important.
Mhm.
So when I was younger, I just like, it was a chaotic emotional environment.
Mhm.
Like I didn't feel, I felt like I was walking with eggshells a lot of the time. There was a lot of stress in the environment that I experienced and picked up on. And all I
Mhm.
really craved was peace. I just wanted peace and love.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
geez,
Yeah.
is that really too much to ask for,
Yeah, like the simple
And
basics, it feels like.
yeah, and so like looking back, everything in my life has been crafted perfectly for me to do what I'm doing now.
Mhm. Yeah. So
And I
it's
haven't even seen anything yet. I've only been
yeah,
doing this for 4 years.
yeah.
I But it seems like the gifts that I have, oftentimes we underestimate our gifts
Mhm.
because they come so natural to us.
That's it. Yep.
And
Exactly.
like just being around other people, meeting new people, especially recently,
Mhm.
and like the new connections, being around them
Mhm.
and watching how just my presence
Mhm.
impacts them is
Mhm.
like, I'm just so grateful for it,
Yeah.
because like I realize like I'm really embodying my gifts, my unique gifts, and changing lives with it.
Yeah.
Like absolutely changing people's lives and changing my own. And that's the
Yeah.
most important though. Like you can't save the world if you don't save yourself.
That's it. 100%. It's like, so cliche, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Like
Yeah.
you can't, So yeah, I love it. And it's like, as you're talking, it's like that choice you always have to be the victim of your life or the victor of your life. Like, are you going to be your own hero? And it's like, you could take all those things that you experience in life and be like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why is this always happening to me? Or like, how, like you said, how is this working for me? Like, how can you see that all these things were perfectly placed for you to now have this? Like, now you can relate to somebody in a way that nobody else could relate to them because of your experiences. And like, that is everything. Like, someone's going to resonate with you and be like, oh my God, I grew up in an environment like that. Like that's me. Like, I need to talk to you. Like, you can help me. And it's like, we're all each other's guides. Like, I'm sure you've had guides along the way. You're going to be somebody else's guide, and have been someone's guide. It's like, that's the beautiful thing of it, is like, we're all guiding each other along this life if we can just view it in that way.
Yeah. You know Ram Dass?
Who's that?
Ram Dass,
Gosh, I don't think so.
very big like spiritual teacher.
Yeah, I don't think I know that
Yeah.
one. Oh, now I'll
Another
have to look that one up.
go and
Another
see
one.
Ram Dass's stuff, or
Yeah, I'll write that
he
down.
has a book called Be Here Now. and
Oh,
it's
I know the book. Yes, I haven't read that one.
very, very interesting book. But it's
Yeah.
very, every single time I open that book, it's transformational.
Yeah.
Um, but what I was going to say is, I believe this is from Ram Dass, but
Mhm.
we're all just walking each other home.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
That's the
I
quote.
love that. Oh my gosh, I definitely got to read that. I love that.
Yeah, like that's exactly what you were just saying. Just
Yeah.
I love how you put it. Like we're all just walking each other home because
Yeah.
essentially, like at our core, we are spiritual beings. You know, we're just
Yeah.
having this human experience, uh,
Hmm.
and learning, evolving, going through
Yeah.
all these things.
Yeah.
And you know, it wouldn't be like yin yang. You know, you wouldn't have the happiness if you didn't experience the sadness, or you wouldn't truly value the happiness if you didn't
Yeah.
experience the sadness. You wouldn't
100%.
like a lot of people that say this is the emotional range that people experience. So the middle is right here, neutral,
Hmm.
right? A lot of people are just floating between here. Like they don't feel a lot. They don't feel a whole lot because
Hmm.
they're not allowing themselves to
Yeah.
experience and accept these emotions down here.
Yeah.
So they don't have the capacity to experience these emotions up here
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
limiting themselves in here because they don't want to experience all this stuff.
Yeah. That's such a good way to look at
And
it. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, um, I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought there, like where I was going with that. But
Yeah.
just like that's it, we experience all these things,
Hmm.
um, and it's just the reality of this dualistic world that we're experiencing and living in. And another part of it that a lot of people, that's at the core of a lot of people's fears, is
Hmm.
death.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to such a point where I feel I have a great relationship with death, uh,
Hmm.
because I don't fear it as much,
Hmm.
because I don't see it as the absence of my existence.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not the physical body, I'm not the mind. Like a lot of people identify with their thoughts, and
Mhm.
that'll drive you fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That'll drive you crazy.
That will. Yes.
If you think you are your thoughts, it's no
Yes.
wonder you're
Your
depressed.
thoughts lie.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's no wonder you're depressed, anxious. Like if you believe all that stuff up there, it's chaotic.
Yeah.
You can't give up.
100%.
You can't live your life believing all that.
Yeah.
And like with death, it's like what is the one thing that gives value to life?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
death.
Oh, yes. Right.
It's
That's true. Yes,
death.
that's true. Yes. That again, that range. Yes.
Yeah, if there was no death, like death
Right.
is
What is
literally the
life?
thing that gives the value to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was such a profound perspective
That's
shift
a,
that I had
yeah.
through reading The Untethered Soul.
I have it. I haven't read that one yet. Yep.
So good. It's one of the
Yeah.
last chapters. It talks about the death, like in that perspective. I've
Yeah.
reread that multiple times. I was like, whoa, like just thinking about it. Like if
Yeah.
you were gonna die next week, for
Mhm.
example,
You would live
like
hard now.
would that change how you feel in this moment?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Would you appreciate the life that you're given
yeah, I think,
every
yeah.
single moment in this moment?
Hmm.
A lot
Yeah.
more. A lot more
Yep.
than you would if you're
So
just,
true.
oh, I'm kind of living in this neutral emotional range,
Yeah.
not too excited about death, not or about life, not too
Mhm.
crazy about it, but
Yep.
also I'm not feeling all these worse emotions, so I'm okay.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
that's not the way to live. You're
Yeah.
not really living if you're not allowing yourself to experience the dark side.
Yeah. It's so interesting to say that because again, that book that I'm reading now, they talk about high achievers and thoughts of death, and high achievers tend to think about death more often because again, it gives them that perspective of like, my time here is finite. So what am I going to do with it? And so it's so interesting. Yeah. Like just that perspective, like some people avoid it at all costs, but maybe it does serve you if you start thinking about death, like our time is finite here and what are we doing with it? And how can we really embrace our lives and make the most of it? So yeah, I love that. I can't wait to read Untethered Soul. I have so many
I'm
books I want to
doing
read.
all these recommendations.
I
Uh,
know.
So another one that I just finished, if you want to write this down too, it's only like 80 pages, very short book.
Yeah.
It's called Be What You Are, Love.
See, we have to exchange books because I haven't read any of these. And then, yeah, that's Be What You Are, Love. Yeah.
Yeah. Be What You Are, Love. It's so good, so good.
Yeah.
And it's just like all this stuff. I feel like every single book that I read comes into my life at the exact
Oh
right
my gosh,
moment.
I
At
do.
the
I feel that same
exact,
way too.
and
Yes.
it's like there's no coincidences.
Yeah, yes,
There's
I
no,
agree. And it's so much more fun when you think about it that way.
yeah, like it's awesome because another one, oh geez. Okay,
Keep
another
them
one.
coming.
I'll give you one more. I'll give you one
Yeah,
more. It's by the same guy as Power versus Force. But I just finished this and I spent so much time reading this book because
yeah,
I was just taking it slow because it's so like, wow, every single time
yeah,
I opened it, it's like
yeah.
transformational. And it's
Mhm.
Letting Go
Letting go.
by David Hawkins.
Yeah,
That's one of my top books too.
yeah. That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's really crazy how perfectly like everything is orchestrated and just
yeah,
developing the mindset that, oh, life is actually working for me, and
yeah,
that everything that I go through is actually for a purpose and it's
yeah.
happening for me in some way.
Hmm.
Like you might be going through really intense emotional times, like
Hmm.
breakdowns, whatever you're experiencing,
Hmm.
but that's only happening so that you can release the shit that's clogging your energy system
Hmm.
so that you can get to the next level.
Yeah,
And not necessarily the next level of achievement, the
yeah.
next level of freedom.
That's
Because
it. Yeah.
freedom is emotional.
Uh-huh.
Freedom is eternal.
Yep.
Freedom is not, it's an illusion that the freedom
Mhm.
comes from doing all the
Yeah.
external stuff. Like even using the fear of death as, or using death as motivation,
Yeah.
like you can use it as motivation to achieve,
Hmm.
but then you got to really look at where it's coming from. Is it
Hmm.
coming from, I'm using it as motivation to achieve, just further building upon this avoidance and this belief that I'm not good enough, so I feel the need to prove myself through achieving, or I
Hmm.
feel the need to leave a legacy because that's what'll make me enough?
Hmm. Yeah.
Or are you looking at the fear of death, or not the fear of death, just death in general,
Yeah.
letting it motivate you to just appreciate this moment more?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because
It's like subtlety with everything.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
these nuances. And what I've realized personally through direct experience in life,
Hmm.
um, and experience with the people around me that I've
Hmm.
had influence on, is through letting go of like that whole, oh, I need to achieve, I need to create, and it's taken me going into some times where I'm literally not doing anything,
Hmm.
so that I can just like be with these emotions that come up when I'm not being productive, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's taken some of those times to really allow myself to be like, oh, okay, existence is enough. Like
Hmm.
there was this mantra I was telling myself for a while: life is enough.
Hmm.
Life
Yeah.
is enough. I didn't
Yeah.
come here to, oh, how much can I achieve? How high can I go? I
Yeah.
to experience, I mean, whatever life is for me, but it's ultimately the journey of expansion and the
Yeah.
journey of letting go and becoming more free.
Yeah. That's
And
the thing. Yeah.
so where is it coming from?
Yeah.
That's one thing I really like to emphasize a lot of the time. Like
Yeah.
what you're doing, where is it coming from? Are you still unconsciously pursuing what you think your mom wants you to do?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because it's going to make you enough, because you'll get significance from it, because then you'll feel worthy of her love?
Yeah.
Or are you doing what you're doing because you already feel like you're enough? You already love and accept yourself at the deepest levels. And
Hmm.
everything that you're doing is just a bonus on top of that. It's coming
Hmm.
from inspiration
Hmm.
where there's power.
Yeah.
It's not forced. It's not, I
Such a
need
big
this
difference.
because I'm not. It's,
Yeah.
I love myself. I love life. I love people.
Mhm.
And I want to serve these people through what I'm doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Be different.
That's huge. And like such a great question to ask yourself too. Like I'll be asking myself more of this too. It's just where's it coming from? That's such a great question, because if we don't stop to think about that, we can very quickly get into that ego mindset. And then again, it doesn't bring us down the path that we should be going down. And it's such a nuance, but it's such a big nuance of like knowing where your heart is at and then what's your intent behind it. And I love that. And
Yeah,
kind of wrapping up here, just I just wanted to share something, because when we talk about life happening for you, those synchronicities, that nothing is, coincidence. I think it's so funny, when we were setting up this podcast, I literally, like, your name popped in my head at like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll send him a message tomorrow, because like I had reached out to you like a year ago to be on. And then we just kind of like missed connections. And like this literally happened like a month ago. Your name popped up. I'm like, I got to reach back out to him. And then you had literally sent me a message within like an hour of me thinking about your name. And I hadn't even sent you a message yet because it was so late at night. I'm like, I'll send him a message the next day because I'm on the East Coast. And I'm like, this is crazy, like talk about those energies. Like we're across the whole United States, and like a year has gone by and we had that like synchronicity, and
yeah.
then we tried to do this podcast last week, and then you had like that thought that it wasn't going to work out because of something on my end. And then
And
that's
then it
exactly what
didn't.
happened. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like my power went out literally like 5 minutes before we were supposed to record this last week. So again, these things happen. So start looking at them in your life, because like, I truly believe it's part of those like energy waves. Like there's something in the, we all share energy, and it's like, doesn't matter if you're in physical presence, you're sharing energy with people. You think about somebody, the phone rings, it's like those things that happen. It's amazing. So I just wanted to share that because I thought that was really cool. So, if you're
Yeah,
looking at this, look for those.
yeah, like all of that stuff. It's not like limited to being local. Like
Yeah.
we're not separate. we're not separate. We're all
Yeah.
connected through this universal mind, through the collective consciousness. Like
Mhm.
we are essentially all one mind. My perspective on just life in general is we are the experience, we are the universe experiencing itself through different perspectives.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's all it is. Like this localized consciousness is just, it's just like you're here for a reason,
Yeah.
why try to be somebody else?
That's it.
That's the journey, is really beginning to know yourself and
Mhm.
loving and accepting yourself at the deepest levels. And that's where your gifts will really come flooding out.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's where your impact will come out into the universe, into other people's lives.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's crazy because
Yeah.
especially like it being a whole year since you asked,
I
I
know.
don't know exactly what prompted me to go back to that message and
Yeah.
realize like, oh wow, I never replied.
So
But
crazy.
yeah, it just happened perfectly. And then
Yeah.
also what happened last week when we were supposed to record it,
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm ready, like I can do it. But I was honestly, I was going through some shit that morning, and I was like I was feeling, I was processing and releasing a lot of emotions at that point.
Yeah.
And so it's literally perfect that it
Yeah.
worked out the way that it did.
So
Because now, like,
amazing.
this morning I've been feeling great, and I'm
Yeah.
totally ready in the mindset and the energy
Mhm.
to get on a
Yeah.
podcast and have a conversation like this.
Yeah. It's great. It's so like, now you just said that, that's absolutely amazing too, because what a like now your energy is in the place. So for someone who's listening to this, like now your value that you can give someone and serve people is at a higher level. And like, it's so interesting you say that too, because we were supposed to meet, I think it was last Tuesday, right? Or something.
Yeah.
I think it was Tuesday. So the crazy thing is too, is that we had just put our dog down on Monday. So I wasn't in a good energy space either, but I'm like,
Oh,
well, I'm going to do it. So like, it's almost like the universe was like, no, you two need to be in a better energy space to do this. So it's so crazy. Like, I truly believe that. Now that you're saying it too, I'm like, wow, that's mind blowing, because like, yeah, I was still like, dealing with that because it was less than 24 hours. And I'm like, that is so crazy. It's just unbelievable.
I mean,
So
first of
thanks
all, I'm
for,
sorry to hear that. I know how hard that is. I had to put
oh,
my dogs down a few years back,
oh,
and
things. Yeah. It's
it's such,
heart-wrenching.
were you in there with them when it
Mhm.
happened? It's
Yeah,
so
we did it at home. Yeah. So it was really,
sad.
really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, but that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Whether you choose to believe it or not is
Mhm.
completely up to you. But
Yeah.
life is showing you every single day, and you just got to pay attention.
Yeah.
You just
That's
got to
it.
realize it's all about your beliefs, because you'll see what you
Yeah.
believe. It's the reticular activating system.
That's it. Yep.
You'll see what you think about. You'll see what you believe, and really, a
Yeah.
belief is just a, a thought that you decided to keep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like the whole new lens of life, and once you start developing a lens that serves you, it's game changer. It really is.
Exactly.
I
That
feel like it
right
was
there,
that
that sums it up. That sums
that's
it up.
it. Take anything. That's it. Your lens on life. But this has just been such an awesome conversation. I knew it would be because like I just feel like, when we did that live a year ago, I was like, this is awesome, So I'm so glad that you could be on the podcast and we could have another conversation. And I feel like we could talk for hours, but just to
Oh,
kind of wrap it up for time's sake, where can people find you to connect with you?
so I am mainly on Instagram at this moment, and you can find me at underscore Elijah Mang. That's
Mhm,
ELIJAHMANG.
mhm.
Um, so underscore Elijah Mang there. I'm also on YouTube now. So I just started
Nice.
posting on YouTube.
Cool.
And I want to make that more of a main focus for
Yeah.
myself, posting on YouTube, and then
Mhm.
maybe even make it more of a main focus than Instagram.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to be using both. So YouTube, Instagram, they're both underscore Elijah Mang. And
Awesome.
I believe that's pretty much it for now.
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
also working on a website. So that's in the works. It'll be here in the near
Yeah.
future. It's just
That's ex-
elijahmang.com.
mhm. Very cool. I'll put all that in the show notes for anyone who's listening so that you can connect with Elijah. And again, thank you so much. This has been such a cool conversation. It just flows so well. And there's just so many things like it's mind blowing, when you start changing your life, evolving yourself and really diving into your own personal development, like it's game over. So
Oh
thank you
yeah.
for all the messages that you've shared today.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. This has been amazing, and I already know that this is going to impact a lot of people.
100%. And that's what we're here for, right? That's it. All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, for anyone who's listening, please subscribe to the podcast and please share this episode. If you found benefit in it, share it with your friends so that someone else can also benefit from this. That's really what it's all about, is just spreading the love and really just serving other people. And again, being each other's guide and helping each other home, just like your quote you shared. So love that. So thank you again for spending your precious time with us.
Yes, thank you.
If you've connected this episode and want to work with me further, you can get on the waitlist for my Revitalize program, where you'll learn to create new energy, new success, and a new life. Stop letting stress impact your health by learning how to regulate your nervous system, and stop letting your limiting beliefs impact your success by reprogramming your subconscious mind. Grab the link in the show notes below. Thank you for spending your precious time to listen to this episode of Rewiring Health. My mission is to inspire hope and healing through science-backed practices. If you found value in this, please share it with 3 people and leave a review. By doing so, this message can be spread to those who need to hear it most. Also, to get updates on the most recent episodes, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and I am forever grateful for you.